On this week's episode of Three Dad Bod.
Whether we admit it or not, we're all radios, all of us. We were radios sent from heaven, and we need to figure out how to turn us on and tune us in so that we can get the communication that heaven is sending.
Sarcastic, witty, and not afraid to mix it up. Pop open a cold one and welcome to Three Dad Bods.
You know, I had died and been gone for 3 days, so I didn't even know where my car was. And so I called my dad, and he came and picked me up. And I was fine. I went jogging about an hour and a half later, just full on, just running. To me, that's what felt the best, because it felt like I could somehow energetically get out of this body or feel like I was outside this body. And I was somewhat addicted to that energy of moving so fast, like we had moved when I was going towards heaven. I could feel just so much momentum of how fast we were moving, just eons and millions of miles passing as we were, going through my journey. And at the end of all this, I did think I was delusional. I thought I was crazy. I had a neurologist that had convinced me. He warned me. He said, "Vinny, you were dead for 3 days. Your brain was starved of oxygen for at least an hour, maybe two." And I mean, he was like, on paper, you were dead for almost an hour on paper, and you were probably dead almost an hour before that. So he explained that my brain was going to use its imagination to fill in the gaps. And he said, be very leery. He explained it like a Dr. Seuss novel, that my brain may create this Dr. Seuss novel to fill in the gaps. And he said, just not to take it serious, to be very, very leery of whatever I remember. So I started out with that in my mind. And as this was all
got to deal with, sorry.
No worries, brother.
Extremely good conversation. I appreciate it.
You're good.
You go ahead, Sean.
You're good, brother.
It can't work. We'll talk about
Randy, I'm going to haunt your ass. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to haunt your ass.
You to be low vibration, Sean.
I am going to watch everything that you do, man.
Brett and I
Sean.
Brett and I are going to get the high vibes.
Like...
We'll see you in heaven someday.
Yeah, I'm gonna come visit Tracy
Sean,
too.
I'm working, Sean. Don't haunt me, Sean. I'm working right now.
He's gone, Brent.
He's gone. Okay,
just
Vinny,
like that.
Sorry. Do you remember where you were?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, it was really hard to come to reconciliation of what could have been a delusion or what could have been a real experience. I still wasn't sure yet. And it was only a few months after that whole experience. I was in this little town in Wyoming, and I was watching a historical presentation about the little town of Afton, Wyoming. And I was watching this slideshow on a movie screen on a football field, of all places, that they had set up. And I'm watching all these film strips go by of famous people. And one of the first clergy in the town, one of the first bishops in the town, was this guy named Charles Kazare. But he was a dead ringer for my guide. He was it. But it said his name was Charles. So I was a little dismayed by that, but I knew that what I was seeing was my guide. So
Yours was Drake. His name was Drake,
yeah,
right?
He said his name was Drake to me, but on this picture it said his name was Charles. But I knew the last name as my grandmother's maiden name. So I went straight from there to my grandmother's house, and I asked her, I was like, Grandma, what's going on with this Charles Kazare? Can you tell me anything about Charles Kazare? And she goes, oh, you mean Great Grandpa Drake? He's kind of famous.
Oh, God.
And so
Wow.
at that moment,
Wow.
I started to weep. I knew for a fact I had to go sit down. I knew for a fact that there was so much more to this, that I needed to find out more, and come to find out his middle name was Drake. His first name was Charles, but he went by Charles professionally and at church. But all of his close friends and his family all called him as Drake by his middle name. So, in the family, he was known as Great Grandpa Drake. And
tell him about the blessing that he got too before
Great
he
albums too, by
transitioned.
the way. I love Drake.
and why he was your guide, because that was interesting too. By the way,
what was neat is
No, let him finish, Carl. Let him finish.
I'm sorry. Okay,
God,
I'm just
shut up,
excited.
man.
You know,
You
I like the book. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, after I got married to my wife, which I met her after all this, and she was really inspiring me to honor family. We moved.
So this
we
is
moved to
years
Wyoming.
after then.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We moved to Wyoming to take care of my grandmother, and after we moved there, we were going through some things with her. She was helping us, or she was asking us to help sort through her old documents and old papers for her family. As we did, though, we found this one folder that said C.D. Kazare, or Charles Drake Kazare. And we opened it up, and there was a special blessing inside, a recorded blessing, like one of these ones that they record every word that was said in the special prayer. And so we were reading through it, and it had about one paragraph about his purpose in this life, in helping others and assisting people in this life. And it had about a whole page of what he was going to be doing in the next life. And he was set to be a guide, someone who would help lovingly assist his ancestors to cross over from this life to the next, and that he would be one of these guides or waymen to help people go back and forth as needed. And not just that, but like the purpose to his volunteering to do this job in the eternal scheme of things, and how it was foreordained before he came here, and that it was part of his duties for the eternities. So it was really, really neat for me, because now I had, a second confirmation there. And then I did have an experience with a doctor too, a head shrinker, that he was trying to help me on that department before I knew about Drake and before I knew any of that. And I just communicated a message that I was getting from his grandmother. I communicated that to him, and he confirmed for me as well that whatever I had experienced had to be real, because it was something that he had never, ever told to anyone, ever, not even his own wife. And that was a beautiful thing for me to know. That was my first inkling that, the communications I was getting were real, and that this whole realm that we think is reality is not reality. The reality is there. Here is the delusion. Here is the virtuality, or the matrix, that we live in. Yeah.
The sim. We live in a sim like Musk. Elon's right. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, dang it. I wish I had a better sim. No, I'm just kidding.
We all do, Carl. We all wish you had a better sim.
I just know if you trade it in, you'll only get a worse off one. There's no trade ups.
Well, hey, I wanted Alan and I wanted Vinny and Alan to kind of talk about their business, because I like the concept, and I think, don't you go over some of the things that you learned through this experience? You've actually developed it into a workshop, like you said, for people who are worried about transitioning, but would someone who isn't worried about transitioning also benefit from this workshop?
Absolutely. So we do some retreats. We're doing in-person retreats so far. We're going to be doing virtual ones this year as well, this upcoming year. And these retreats are, Alan, you speak to it. I love it. Alan gets to give you the look inside and out. He gets to give you the whole look all the way around.
So something that we've been working on is creating a community called Living God's Light, an opportunity to come together as a community, as a space for people to come and feel accepted, for them to feel like they are a part of something, because so many people have been, can I say disenfranchised, or feel like they're not a part of something. Maybe they don't feel quite connected to a specific religion or a specific group. They need a place to be. They need a group to connect to. So what we've done is we've created this Living God's Light. You can find us at livinggodslight.org, I believe, right, Vinny?
No, .com.
.com. Sorry, I always get them backwards. I'm involved in another charity, and it's a .org. Anyway, so livinggodslight.com. And you can jump in there on the website, and there's a couple of resources. We're just growing it. We're starting to build it. So what we did this summer, this last summer, is we had a 3-day retreat where people could come and they could learn about firsthand how to see themselves differently, how to step into a space of self-examination, looking at the things that we are involved in and how do they help us? How do they help us be in a better space? Something I always like to talk to people about is, we're here in this lab or to have this experience, and we're all going to die. None of us are getting out of it. Some of us might have a reprieve like Vinny did, but none of us are getting out of it. So what is it that we get to take with us? We get to take with us the wisdom that we gain and the connections we make. So if we can focus on those things, that's what we're here for. So that's, as an organization, a lot of the things that we're trying to focus on. How do you connect with people, and how do you find like-minded individuals? How do you look here at who you are and look here at who you are and understand yourself better? So that's the goal, is help
great.
you understand yourself better.
That's awesome, man. Well, and Brent, I just for some reason had this thought. And see, Brent and I, we went to Glenn's funeral. This was the friend we were talking about, Vinny. And we were just, it was the evening before or after the viewing, and we were at the pool. And Brent made a comment about, and he was just being reflective, like Brent always is. He does have deep thoughts. It's incredible, but he does. But he asked me a rhetorical question, like, what's between the dash? And at first I didn't know what he was talking about. And then I started thinking about it, and he said, yeah, what's between the dash, between the 1970 and whenever I transition or he transitions? Who's going to remember us? What's this all about if all it's going to be is a dash? Did I say that correctly, Brent?
Yeah. So, it's, as you get older, funerals take on a different meaning to you, and it's like, what do you do when you go to a cemetery? You look at the dates. And it's just like, it hit me like, all I'm going to be remembered for is the dates, the dash. Well, I'm from here to here. That's who walks by my tombstone is going to know Brent Whitley, 1970 to whenever my wife finally kills me and buries me and hides me and stuff. But because I really screwed up, it will be my fault.
He's difficult.
Yeah. She's not going to put a stone in the backyard where she hides the body, Brent. I'm sorry.
It's like, I'm just going to be remembered for dates. That's who I am. People will walk by Gary Gilmore. More people will know who Gary Gilmore is than Brent Whitley. And that's frightening, I don't want to be just dates.
Yeah, that's if there's nothing after this life, though. And that's what's so beautiful about this message that Vinny's telling. So that's why I was getting to. So this is a kind of workshop, or I don't know, could you call it a kind of a life guide that you can create?
Yeah.
I mean,
it is. It's like a guidance system for you, and we teach it as, hey, this is not gospel, but here's some really cool options. See which options resonate for you, and improvise, implement, and embrace what works for you. But really what we're about as Living God's Light is we are all about activating God inside of you and helping you connect stronger to the divine within you, and helping you strike up that relationship that all of us have, whether we admit it or not. We're all radios, all of us. We were radios sent from heaven. And we need to figure out how to turn us on and tune us in so that we can get the communication that heaven is sending. But there, heaven is great. Broadcasting on a lot of the channels. It's up to us to tune in and get the right message. Yeah.
Okay, one more time. Let's get the name of the first book that you wrote. Show it, Alan. Show us again.
It is the Light After Death.
The Light After Death.
Journey back. Wait, you pull it back a little bit, Vinny. Journey to Heaven and Back. And what is the next book going to be called, so we can look out for it?
So I can talk a little bit about that. It is a workbook that Lynn and Vinny and I have spent a lot of time working on and honing. And it's a space where you can go week by week and explore one of the 10 principles that Vinny came home with, or came back here with from home. is what I'm going to rephrase that to be, and how to use those in your life.
Okay, that'd be awesome. Well, and then to get hold of you, we go to, what is the website address again? One more time.
livinggodslight.com. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey guys, we really.
Yeah, hear a funny story.
Let's hear it.
So Saturday, I'm home alone. I have 2 dogs here. Okay, and the one dog we have, like somebody walks by on the street, she just starts barking. She drives me nuts. Hey, pitch, bark, 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 bark. Anyway, she's going off. She's barking like crazy, and I'm screaming from upstairs. Shut up! I'm screaming every F-bomb, everything like that. Get the dog to shut up, and I look out the corner of my eye, and I can see there's these 2 old ladies that are out on the front. I'm like, oh crap! So the door. And this lady's like, I'm so-and-so, this is my sister, and we're just here. We feel that we want to make sure that you're reading the Bible and that you're getting the Bible every day in your life. This lady just these dogs.
If you want a low vibration, they're gonna have a song called "Low Vibration" when Brent comes in the room. So,
oh my god,
that's awesome.
Anyway, hey, we want to thank you guys for being here tonight. We really appreciate the 2 of you sharing, and especially Vinny sharing your story. I know. I guess one last question, and I saved it for the very end because, I mean, if you don't want to answer it, that's fine. I can cut this part out. But, there are going to be some skeptics. And there are going to be some people that go, well, you were brain dead. You had to have had brain damage because my grandpa died after not getting oxygen for 5 minutes. How in the heck did you survive?
Explain it to you. I guess that's like, what did the doctors say?
The way they referred to me is they called me the miracle boy. They did. They said there was that modern science doesn't have an explanation, and in fact, they had already prepared my dad and my brother for palliative care. So they had given my brother some pamphlets that they have sometimes at hospitals about where you put someone who's in a coma for the rest of their life. And my brother had gotten that pamphlet, and I think he doesn't remember getting the pamphlet, but I feel that was his motivation for saying that blessing or that prayer.
That was it for the prayer. It's like,
like, I'm not going to do this. You get in here now. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, that's got it. Well, yeah. I mean, this is just an amazing story. I just wondered when you were talking to these psychiatrists or therapists, did they talk about putting you on what's it called, antipsychotic drug at all? Or
yeah. So that particular doctor that I was telling you about earlier, when I was seeing him, he was actively in the process of writing out 3 prescriptions to me. He was writing out a prescription as an anti-schizophrenic. He was writing out a prescription as a tranquilizer that I could take when I was getting too out of hand with my spirits, is what he called it. And then he was putting me on an antidepressant as well, because I was depressed. I was extremely depressed. I wanted to die, and I made it very clear to everyone I talked to. I'm like, nope, I want to die. And
you want to go back?
Yeah, I wanted to go back, but I also knew that I couldn't. For some reason, I knew if I tried to end my life, that somehow I'd survive again, and then I'd be, debilitated and still alive for the rest of my life. So I knew that I wanted to do it the right way. And as I was meeting with this doctor, this lady who is an older woman that came to me in spirit, she told me, she was like, don't you dare take those prescriptions until you deliver this message to my grandson. And I'm like, I'm already meeting with him about this kind of stuff. I'm not going to bring this up. He's just going to say, here's a 4th prescription, right? I felt like it was a move in the wrong direction.
Put them in straps.
But that's when my guy Drake like came in front of my personage, like in front of my face, and he was like serious, and he's like, don't you take these prescriptions until you deliver her message. And he was like so serious about it. And I was like, okay, I will deliver her message. I might have a white van that comes and picks me up, but I'm going to deliver the message. So I said, well, Doc, I got to tell you something before I leave. I got to tell you this. there's a lady here and she has a message for you. And I delivered that exact message, exactly how she said to say it. And essentially, to give you the synopsis of what happened, is she was his savior as a young boy. She saved him and essentially stopped some abuse that was habitual. She stopped it and she got it done so that it never happened again. And here's what he didn't realize. He had tucked that behind a wall of his consciousness and had not thought about it since he was 5 years old.
Yeah.
Since he was 5 years old, he had not thought about that. And what was really neat is for her to help him remember. That was something that I couldn't have gone on the internet and found. That was something that even he didn't remember until I said it. But as I said it, his eyes got big like saucers. His mouth dropped open. And this is a good Mormon doctor. He says, "Get the F out of my office." And I was like,
he wasn't happy at all.
I was like, whoa. And so I left. And a few moments later, he called me.
Traumatic. Traumatic.
It was traumatic for him as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But, he called me a few moments later. He called me a few minutes later, and he was crying on the phone. And he was like, "Vinny, I'm sorry that I treated you that way." He said that was out of left field. He said that he didn't realize that was the whole reason he went into the mental health field. He had totally forgotten it. And the fact that it was reminded to him. And here's what he said. He said, no matter what anyone's going to tell you, whatever's going on for you is real. But you've got to figure out what to do with it. And he was, he's LDS. So he was Mormon. He said, "Vinny, I think you should go meet with your bishop about it and get some religious direction on that." And so that's what actually I did. I went and met with my clergy, and my clergy had some great advice on it and said that, hey, God chose you to come back for a reason. It's up to you to figure out that reason. And it's up to your connection with God that's going to help you figure out that reason. So I just began to build this relationship with God, which I still am working on building every single day. Every day that I'm alive, I'm either building that relationship with God or I'm breaking that relationship with God. There's no trending water ever. I'm either making it or I'm breaking it. Yeah.
And hopefully you're going incrementally forward every day, right?
So that's the whole idea, but we'll see. We'll see.
Well, and I guess that's one other question I have, and I know we got to get this over pretty soon for you, so you can get back to your night and your family. But since you do know all this, do you feel like a pressure or that maybe I wouldn't feel because I haven't had that kind of experience? In other words, do you feel a responsibility?
I'll tell you, I wish that I could need faith. Now think about that. I wish that I would need faith, because now that I have this experience, there's no need for faith. I still have faith. I still have faith, but I'm telling you, like, I wish I could go back to being able to claim ignorance on certain things. I can't claim ignorance on things. I have to be completely authentic with my experience, and I'll call out my own imperfections just as fast as anyone else. But I do strive every single day to take this knowledge that God gifted me, this experience that God gifted me, and to try to help people with it. I'm not out here proselytizing, saying that my reality, my truth is your truth, but I am here saying, hey, take a second look at how you're running your life. Take a second look on how you're running your relationship with your Creator, because that's a very precious relationship, and it doesn't need to be one way. God is always pouring down the blessings upon us. It's up to us to take the umbrellas away and allow receiving to those blessings. But unfortunately, the umbrellas to God's blessings are right here. Our phones. Our phones are the number one preventer from us receiving blessings from God.
I know, we barely scratched. I mean, I read the book, I listened to 2 or 3 podcasts that you were on, and I know we barely just scratched it, and it's okay. I'd love to have you on again later.
Sure.
One of the things I'm really interested in is you were talking about the future, which gets a little controversial.
Oh yeah.
And maybe we could talk.
I make lots of frenemies when I talk about the future.
I'd love to get controversial with you on that. That'd be awesome.
Okay. Awesome.
And you were really fun guest having you on this episode with us. So I hope our guests really have a good time too listening to this one. So Brent, you want to lead us out? I'm going to edit a lot of this to make it sound a little bit better, but go ahead and lead us out, Brent.
Yeah, before Brent lead, I have a couple things I love to ask people. So I'm going to throw some stuff back at you guys.
Yeah.
As you're living your life and as you're moving forward, and we got to listen to this amazing experience that Vinny had, and it can be really life-changing if you look at it from the right direction. What I get from his experience is, what are you becoming? You know, we're here in this lab, in this place to learn. What are you becoming? So if you want to write that down, I think that's a great question for you to write down and look at your life and say, if that's what I'm here for, what am I becoming? And then the second question I want to leave you with is
between the dashes.
Yeah, what is that? What is that? What's the dash? What is it that you're and so the dash actually, Brent, because that's what made me think of this, is what do you want to leave as a legacy? What do you want people to remember you for rather than just a dash? What is it that you want people to remember or to know about you? How can you create that? I love this podcast because it's a fun thing that you guys are doing together as friends and creating a legacy of memories about the old neighborhood and about all of the things that you experienced growing up and that you're going through now and how that's affecting your lives. I love that. So that's a great legacy. But what else? What else do you want to leave as a legacy? So those are my two questions for you guys. What are you becoming and what do you want to leave as a legacy?
Well, I know this. One thing I learned from my divorce, and I think listening to Vinny's story and driving down to see her that weekend, she's been hurt like hardcore by previous relationships. And before I was hurt in that previous relationship I was in, before I'd kind of listened to this, story about life and what's coming, it really got me in a frame of mind where I was really thinking about, you know what? It doesn't matter what her story is. My job is to love her and just be there for her. And it's opened up a relationship in a way I've never imagined could be possible with someone. I've never dated anybody or felt that way, even in my previous marriage. And it's pretty dang cool. So I don't know where it's going, but I mean, I could screw it up next week. But the reality is, I think this one's going to be a good one. But I just, I appreciate it, guys, because it's good timing for some reason. I heard this at this time, and it's been something I've been struggling too. Like, Brent, what am I going to do after I felt my purpose was raising my kids, and now I'm like, what's my purpose now at 53? And I think that's too the whole concept of our podcast kind of is, hey, we're friends, we had this past, but now what's life about? And what are we going to challenge each other to do? And who are we going to be? And so this is the perfect podcast for that, guys. And we appreciate you guys being on here tonight.
Well, Carl, to give you a little semblance of what your purpose is now is what your purpose always has been. And that's for you to be able to find joy. And just so happen you found a lot of joy through your kids. And now that they're grown up, they're less of a joy. And so
believe me,
just wait.
I still love the heck out of them.
Just wait until they start popping out grandkids, then you get to have that joy factor back again, right? Just ask Alan, right?
Yeah, they do leave, but they come back with reinforcements.
Yeah, Brent and I are waiting to be grandpas. We're still holding out.
That is your reward.
Yeah,
the grandkids are the best.
That's awesome, guys.
It's hard to find what stuff makes you feel joy, though. So keep looking, and when you find something, allow yourself that. Bring some true, everlasting joy into your life. And the weirdest thing is when you're missing something in life, go give that very thing to someone else, and you will actually receive what you were missing the whole time.
That's a good point. Yeah. No, I like that. Well, awesome, guys.
Okay, now Brent can lead us out.
Yeah,
Go,
there
Brent.
we go.
That's tradition.
You didn't want to hear my stuff? Or just call
Yeah.
us?
Oh, well, we didn't know you wanted. Okay, go ahead. No, that's
Let's hear it, Brent. Let's hear
He
it.
gets mad at me. All right, sorry, Brent. Sorry,
So
Brent.
my greatest accomplishment can be found on my OnlyFans page.
Oh, that's why I skip you sometimes. Exactly, right there. I would play some heavy metal.
I think my purpose is to make people laugh. You know, if you've ever looked at my Facebook page, I try and put on a funny comment each day, and that actually started back during the Sandy Hook shootings that happened, and I was just looking at the world and it just felt like there was so much chaos in the world, and if I could put a smile on one person's face, take their mind off of a sorrowful event that they're feeling, or anger, or hatred, or even a suicidal thought, and just put a little laugh in their head for a split second, then that's what I need to do, you know, and that's what Facebook has been to me. I know I like to stir the pot on there a few times, but if you look every single morning, I try and find something that will make you think, make you laugh, make you smile. And, you know, I think, you know, when we went back for this funeral that Carl was talking about, Rachel's wife kind of asked each of us what we thought of the other one. And Sean really kind of got to me. But, you know, he says, you know, Brent's always there. Like, if I'm feeling down, I can always call Brent, and you know, he makes me laugh. He takes my mind off of things, you know, and so that's just what I do, you know. I make fun of people and we point and laugh at them together. So
Yeah, but Brent, you're there though. If you know, you were like immediately texting me when you heard about Tyler, and I know you care about me and you love me, and I love, you know, that's kind of how we look at each other. And you know, we're the only ones kind of in a way left. Well, there's some others, but in our neighborhood, but we're kind of the banner, the group, the trouble priest quorum and teachers quorum that drove our teachers crazy. We're the ringleaders. And so
you may not know this, but like Alan's been like a big brother to me and you know, to Carl. I mean, like we grew up in a neighborhood where I've literally known Sean my whole entire life. There's not one moment in my life that I don't know Sean. He's 3 months older than I am. There's Larry. Carl moved in, this rich kid that came on in, or just a piece of crap that we've hated for years and acted like we liked for a while.
They made it hard on me too, man. I had to work hard to integrate.
There was Glenn. There was Carl. You know, there's so many. There's Evan. There was Davey. There was Darren. There was Scott. There was Matt. Like a whole neighborhood that we lived. You know, that's the best word for it. We everything we did was together. I went on scout camps with Alan. You know, he was the big brother that was kind of guiding us along and stuff. There's George Norrie was in that group, and you know, we just all, they kind of led the way. We kind of led the way for some that were a little younger than us, but we were always together. There was a neighborhood, a corner called the Tanners, that we would all get together every single night on the corner, a whole group, you know, 15 plus kids in the neighborhood, and we all had each other's backs. And I, you know, through all my friends and everything that I've grown up outside of there, I mean, Carl and I still talk today. You know, Sean and I still talk all the time. That where we still have this bond and this mold and this, you know, togetherness that we all shared together that really is unique for what we've been able to experience.
That's so awesome. And it's rare that you hear any of these kind of stories anymore. You just don't.
Yeah.
You don't hear them.
Don't. Everything's too, like you said, Vinny, it's too much on this.
Yep.
Or headset and video game it, you know, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe in their own way, these younger generations can connect.
I was telling Sean, I don't know if I ever walked in you guys' front door before. It was always through the back door.
Yeah, I don't think you ever did walk in the front door. I think it was always the back door. I think everybody came around to the back, and so
that's where they let the dog come in, Brent.
Well, I didn't want to bring it up, but yeah.
Thanks for listening to Three Dad Bods, and make sure to catch their past episodes on Spotify, Apple, and Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure and leave a comment to help stroke their fragile egos.